This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
Today's video is brought to you by Blinkist. Day 8 of symptoms, day 2 of testing positive for COVID, and here I am. I would be taking the day off. I would be taking time off if not for what took place this weekend in Buffalo. If not for Tucker Carlson's role in what took place in Buffalo. The loss of life. The conspiratorial ramblings of both a madman with a gun and a madman with a suit and tie. I've covered this since 2018 and earlier. So I feel like I would be remiss if I just laid on the couch sick and didn't cover this, because I think I have a unique perspective of all of the nonsense and the conspiracies and the lies and the hate that has been spewed by Tucker Carlson. Last night was his first night back after the shooting, and he gave a weak-kneed BS attempt at an explanation, denying any involvement. In fact, he didn't just deny involvement, he put the involvement and the blame that people are putting onto Trump, that people are blaming, this is Trump and Trumpism. No, Tucker, we're blaming you. When I woke up Monday morning and did a video about this, I blamed you. And I went back, you should watch yesterday's video, I went back to 2019, I believe August of 2019, where I've been reporting on and talking about and analyzing your hatred, your rhetoric that incited not just this shooter, but several others with the great replacement, white genocide theory, conspiracy theory, a white supremacist talking point from way back. So I'm going to play Tucker's mealy-mouth BS rambling explanation. But before I do, a word from today's sponsor, Blinkist. I always have a stack of books at my bedside that I plan to get to. Histories that I want to know more about. Science topics that fascinate me. The stack persists like something is going to change, and all of a sudden I will have time to sit down and dig in. While my schedule sure hasn't relented, my likelihood of experiencing those books sure has. With Blinkist. Blinkist takes top nonfiction titles, pulls out the key takeaways, and puts them into text and audio explainers that give you the most important information in just 15 minutes. Blinkist has thousands of titles that run the gamut from politics to parenting, from investments to India after Gandhi. Just think of all the learning you keep meaning to make time for, but haven't. Head to Blinkist.com/Dollemore to start your free 7-day trial and get 25% off of a Blinkist premium membership. Think about how empowering this is. I was finally able to take in Bob Woodward's Fear in a single drive to the post office. I've long intended to read Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil, but have never gotten around to it. And I would love to better understand NFTs, but I know I won't make it all the way through the unabridged version of the NFT handbook. Catch up on your learning with Blinkist. That's Blinkist. Go to Blinkist.com/Dollemore now to get 25% off, as well as a 7-day free trial. Your bedside table will thank you. So not only in the clip that you're getting ready to watch from Tucker Carlson's show last night, not only does he misrepresent the facts, and I mean like just in the aftermath that people are blaming Trump, he's saying, when that is true, certainly Trump holds some culpability. Trump does have some responsibility for the whipping up of a new acceptable white supremacy movement in the United States. Absolutely. But more than anyone else, I believe, Tucker Carlson is complicit in this violence. Watch this and we'll talk about it.
But what he wrote does not add up to a manifesto. It is not a blueprint for a new extremist political movement, much less the potential inspiration for a racist revolution. Anyone who claims that it is is lying or hasn't read it. Instead, Gendron's letter is a rambling pastiche of slogans and internet memes, some of which flatly contradict one another. The document is not recognizably left-wing or right-wing. It's not really political at all. The document is crazy. It's the product of a diseased and organized mind. At one point, Gendron suggests that Fox News is part of some global conspiracy against him. He writes like the mental patient he is, disjointed, irrational, paranoid. Now that's true, not that it makes the atrocities he committed easier to bear. If your daughter was murdered on Saturday in Buffalo, you wouldn't care why the killer did it or who he voted for. But the truth about Peyton Gendron does tell you a lot about the ruthlessness and dishonesty of our political leadership. Within minutes of Saturday's shooting, before all of the bodies of those 10 murdered Americans had even been identified by their loved ones, professional Democrats had begun a coordinated campaign to blame those murders on their political opponents. They did it, they said, immediately. Patron Gendron was the heir to Donald Trump, they told us. Trumpism committed mass murder in Buffalo. And for that reason, it followed logically, we must suspend the First Amendment.
First of all, the whole thing about Fox News is a lie. In the dozens and dozens of pages of this manifesto from this killer, this Nazi, Fox News was never mentioned. The word Fox News did not appear. He's a liar. And he's telling his audience, his low information audience of dullards who will believe anything he says. He's telling them that so they will run away with it and create this new narrative, rewriting history. And then, of course, the connecting the shooter to Trump. That absolutely should be done because Donald Trump does hold some responsibility here. But we're blaming you, Tucker. We're blaming you. And to act as though this horror that was visited upon the black community in Buffalo was not a political happening is just nonsense. This was a self-described white supremacist who feared the replacement. Remember Charlottesville, Tucker Carlson? Remember this moment, the Jews will not replace us. That is partly your doing. And Tucker knows this. And listen, I was watching the news this morning, specifically MSNBC. And there's this perverse knee-jerk reaction to say that this is all for ratings. They just want, it was Joe Scarborough, Morning Joe, talking about how this is all for ratings and to make a bunch of money and to get clout and followers. No, Joe. Tucker Carlson truly believes this. Tucker Carlson is a white supremacist. And to try to pawn this off like, oh, he doesn't actually believe it, is not fair to the situation. Tucker Carlson is a vile and reprehensible, sinister actor in the American political sphere. He is inciting this violence. And to say, sweaty and sick, to say that this is not political is like saying that the 9/11 wasn't political, that the hijackers and the terrorists, they were just crazy, as he diagnoses with no training or expertise in the mental health field. The hijackers on 9/11 were not mentally ill. They were fueled by a hate ideology, just like the shooter was. In fact, to deny your role, Tucker Carlson, in this is to deny what took place in South Carolina with Dylan Roof. It is to deny what took place in the Pittsburgh mosque, where the shooter specifically talked about the Great Replacement theory. It is to deny what took place in El Paso, with the shooter talking about the Great Replacement theory. It is to deny what took place in Buffalo, or let's even go back to Christchurch in New Zealand, where the gunman authored a 74-page manifesto titled The Great Replacement. And then in Buffalo, where the manifesto believed to be written by Gendron said the attack was intended to intimidate all non-white, non-Christian people and get them to leave the country. It said the U.S. should belong only to white people and all others were replacers who should be eliminated through force or terror. You are a reprehensible character in American politics. In America, Tucker Carlson. And to try to obfuscate and act like you didn't have a role in this is gross and dangerous. And the fact that you still have a job is beyond me. The fact that you still have sponsors is an egregious crime against the United States. These blue chip companies that support you need to be boycotted. You should be left with the only sponsor being Mike Lindell, the MyPillow goof. Because you were a liar and a sinister ne'er-do-well, inciting violence against marginalized communities who have already been targeted historically. This is gross. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at Dollemore.com. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for looking past the sweatiness and the sickness. Today's worse than yesterday, for sure, but I am, my oxygen levels are good. For those of you who have emailed and wished me well, I appreciate it very much. My oxygen levels are good. I'm running a little bit of a fever. I've got a cough, a little bit of a tightness in my chest, but I'm getting through it. It's a bummer that I went almost 2.5 years not having COVID this entire time and then getting it going to a wedding. But anyway, follow me on social media. We can talk about all this there. I'm at Dollemore, just about everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And if I bring you value, if you appreciate the analysis that I bring, please consider supporting my work here on the platform. You can click the join button below this video to become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Both those are great ways to support and produce what I do right here. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine and take care of one another.